Welcome, everybody, to Cinema Royale. I am Travis Thompson of PunchDrunkCritics.com, and the lovely lady you see above me on the screen right now is Sharronda Williams of PayYourWeight.com. What's up, Sharronda?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. Long time no see. I missed you a little
Oh,
bit.
look, I miss you a whole lot. How about that?
Oh, that's so sweet. Sharronda, she runs PayYourWeight.com. She's also my not so secret crush. I'm sure she does not know that until just now, but that's okay. So, as you can tell from our backgrounds, we're talking about Jordan Peele's Nope. Now, I didn't get a chance to see this until very recently because it came out when I was away at San Diego. So I'm only just now catching up with it. And I spent all that time listening to people rave about the movie, like just go crazy for it. It's done $100 million. It's Jordan Peele's third film in a row to break $100 million. It's phenomenal for him. But I've seen dozens of think pieces on the movie, lists of everything that you can, all the Easter eggs, all sort of stuff that's in the movie, all this kind of stuff. People hyping it up a lot. To me, it is a very good film. I don't know if it's his best film. I don't think it is. I think Get Out is still there. Um, I think it's slightly overrated, maybe a little bit. But Sharonda, I have no clue what you think of the movie. I have not. I've missed your opinion on it throughout all this. So I'm very curious to know what you think of Nope. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so for me, I think that I one thing that Jordan gets right is his casting in every single film. He casts leads who literally like just steal your attention from the beginning and would just want you to invest in what's going to happen to them. And I think that you can truly tell that this production of Nope is on a bigger scale than what we've seen in his previous films.
Mhm.
Beautiful cinematography, just really fun, especially with the audience that I was able to see it with. But unfortunately, the movie did overall, it didn't do enough for me. And it was interesting that you were saying it's overhyped. I definitely think it's an overhyped film. And it's one of the weakest in Jordan Peele's filmography, unfortunately.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same. Like I said, I feel the same way. And look, I love Get Out. I was at the world premiere of that. It was amazing. An amazing, amazing thing to be at. I thought Us was a little disappointing as well, especially in the final chapter. And as much as I like Nope, and I do, I think in terms of like being suspenseful and the way like certain images grab you, this movie does a really great job of that. Like it hooks you in and it reels you in like for the entirety of it. But it also feels like this movie is almost too big and it gets out of control. And I think that's what kind of happens to it. Again, and maybe this is going to be a thing with Jordan Peele. I hope it's not. It feels like he has a hard time sticking the landing a little bit. And that's what kind of happened to me with this one. There are a couple of like iconic images that he throws out there, especially near the end of the movie. But in terms of like the story and wrapping up this, what is basically a Jaws esque kind of thriller in a lot of ways, I feel like it doesn't quite land.
I think it's interesting that one of the issues that I am having with Jordan Peele as a creative right now is everyone you watch his films, you immediately see the references to, those directors or those creators that he loves. And I just feel with Nope, we're getting to a point where I don't know what Jordan's voice is.
Mm.
Like I know the people that have inspired him, and I know some of the scenes that we get to see people talk about Jaws. Some people even mention Signs, with the house scene, but I just never know like what is that style going to be that makes people say like, oh, this person is like a Jordan Peele fan, like that's his voice. And I don't think that we're quite there yet. And it could be unfair of me to say that he should have already found his voice with only 3 films under his belt,
Yeah.
but I want us to get to the point where we're not necessarily pointing out the references from those who have come before him, but really starting to point out what makes Jordan Peele who he is and why he's this director who's had over 100 million plus for each film that's come out. I want to start seeing like what is it about Jordan Peele that makes us love to watch his films, and that's what I want to get going forward.
Yeah, I get that, and like I said, when I was trying to avoid spoilers on the movie, and I kept seeing people's lists about the movie and things like that, and a lot of people coming up and talking to me about all the things they saw in the movie. He put the Akira slide in there, and I'm like, and then I finally saw the movie, and I was like, okay, so she did the Akira slide, but so what? Like it didn't add anything to the movie unless you saw Akira, and even if you did, I mean, it still didn't add anything to the movie. Like I wonder if all of these references that people are talking about are really things that he put in there for the movie, or is it just things that people are reading into themselves? What do you think?
I think it's the latter. And we've been doing this ever since Get Out. You saw the interview when someone like brought up this like crazy cool theory that sounded really nice, and he was like, "Nah, I wasn't thinking that much into it." But it
Yeah,
but that's
yeah.
not what I intended. And I think that it's crazy because it's a film about spectacle and how we're wrapped into that spectacle. And I think that it honestly falls into the pits of what he's trying to say in the movie. Like, because this movie is on such a bigger scale than what we've seen with his films, because it's this big spectacle that's happening, we forget about things, the little minor things. Like, can anyone tell me the plot of the movie? If someone were to say, spoil note for me right now, would someone actually be able to articulate and spoil this movie? Would anyone be able to talk about the character development of the characters that we saw? Like, are the characters fleshed out? How do these stories of what we see, this backstory with Gordy and Jupe, like, how does that tie into the overall story as
I
a
still
whole?
don't understand that.
And that's what I'm
As
saying. It's the little things.
as interesting as that was in terms of like looking at the way TV and movies explore things differently, yeah, okay, that's interesting. But what does that contribute to the overall story? I don't understand it. Like I don't. It seems like something as and honestly, Stephen Ewan's character, I'm not sure he was even really all that important. Like, but they could have cast somebody else to be that, honestly, to do that role.
I
But
agree.
it seems like that should have been like the basis for an entirely different film that he was thinking about,
And
rather.
I'm okay with watching that film too. If
Me
they
too.
want to go ahead and make a Gordy film,
Me
I will
too.
be first in line because I was
It'd be
intrigued.
fascinating. It'd be fascinating, actually. I'd be really interested in it. But it didn't quite seem like it was meant to be part of this. Am I
Yeah,
wrong?
and I mean, no, you're absolutely right. And that's why it's you keep hearing all these people like it's a masterpiece. It's so great. And it's just like, but if when I ask people to articulate the things that makes it great, is it's as if we can only talk about the aspects of spectacle in the movie. But if I ask questions about how Stephen Yeun is criminally underutilized in this film, one of the most interesting and intriguing characters of the film, he's barely there, barely makes a mark to, like he said, anyone could have played this character. And that's it's the little things that we're missing. It's the little things that we're missing from this film that I felt he started off like I like the ambitious swings that he took with this film, but it didn't stick the landing. You walk out and everybody was just like, okay, but what happened? Like, what was the point? What was the purpose of the film? And I just that's what bothers me so much about Nope.
Yeah, and it's a shame because it's not like it's a bad movie. It is a
No.
really extremely well-made movie on the technical level for sure. I mean, just in terms of like the cinematography and the ability uh to conceal as much as reveal is, I think, some of the best I've seen in a long time. Jordan Peele is a tremendous filmmaker, and there's no doubt about that in my mind. But I agree with you that I think as people start looking for things in his movies, you know, like the Twilight Zone influence is key in everything that he's done. I
Mm-hmm.
think probably even more so in this movie than anything he's done before. I think the Twilight Zone influence is here. Um, but I'm starting to be like you, or I'm starting to wonder, well, what's his signature?
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Like Get Out, I thought I had it. Like I thought I knew the kind of movies he was going to be making. And I feel like, and maybe it's because things are getting bigger, like his movies have gotten progressively bigger since Get Out for good reason. Um, I think maybe I think his voice is starting to get lost.
I think it's a couple of things for me. Like when you watch Get Out, I thought that his voice was, I'm going to take social commentary. I'm going to take things that happen to the average human being and I'm going to show you the horrors that could lead to that. Something so simple and minor to us, something that happens to us all the time. Like Like, but this is really the dark side of that story, of that social commentary. But then when we had Us, it was different. I was like, well, now he's not like a one trick pony. This is something totally different than what we saw in Get Out.
Yep.
But I think the issue that I'm having is the movies are starting to become a little bit too cerebral to the point where it's almost as if his style is less is more. Like I want the audience to interpret what they're seeing than necessarily me telling the audience what's actually happening. And I feel like in a movie like Us that worked because there were so many different moving parts, there's so many different characters in the story and with the tethers or whatnot as well. But with Nope, it's more simplistic, it's less people. It really only focuses on a handful of characters in the whole movie. So once you take all of the extra distractions that we saw like in Us, it it felt like it was lacking of substance. And I feel like the more cerebral that he's getting, the less substance of a plot of actual storytelling than is what we're actually not getting anymore. And that's my problem that I have.
I think also the further we get from a grounded experience,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes more of a problem for him to to want to have people interpret. Like in the like for Get Out, like as as black people, we see some of those situations and we like, I got it. I know
Mm-hmm.
that. I know that feeling. I know that sensation. Yeah, he plays it up a little bit more like in terms of like the horror and thriller aspects of it. But we know some of those situations. We felt it. And then you get to this and you're like, well, creatures in the air and all sorts of weird shit. It doesn't work the same way. You can't play both movies the same way. You can't do it.
Well, it's crazy because in the reactions I saw, they were like the social commentary, and I was like,
Yeah.
what social commentary did you get from this
Yeah.
movie? I was like, am I in a different movie than everybody else? Like, what happened?
Yeah. I totally feel you on that. I've heard that too. And I'm like, all right, whatever, man.
It's the world. I'm glad you got that social commentary. Wish I could have got it too.
Oh man, but like I said, it's a shame that we have so many things to pick at because everything else about the movie is so good, and I do intend to go see it again because I'm sure there are things that I've probably missed, but at the same time, I don't have that instant. This is a classic feeling the way I've felt with Get Out. I don't have that feeling right now with Nope. I feel like it's a really good film from a filmmaker who's still got a lot of room for growth.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've probably jumped the gun with him a little or like quick into thinking that he's like this fully formed filmmaker, because he's had so many successes in a row, but he's still extremely new at this. And I think there's still room for him to become an even better filmmaker.
But I think also too, I mean, it's the plight of Hollywood, right? When you're the next like big director in this industry, we want so much from you. Like think of all the things that he's worked on from Get Out to where we are now with Nope. He had his whole like first part of his life
Yeah.
to craft Nope, I mean to craft Get Out, to pour into it, to make revisions before actually presenting this on screen, and there were really no expectations so he could fully take it there. But I mean, he has less and less time now to release content between what the TV development, him also co-writing and working on like Candyman. So you have less time to create, to fully like realize a story or a project. So I don't know if that has something to do with it as well. Is it the demands of Hollywood is why we kind of see a change in the quality? Like the quality as far as what you see on screen looks great. You can tell they gave Jordan some money and he used that money well.
Yep.
But as far as the story is what hooked us to Jordan. And I feel like that's what we're losing right now.
I totally agree, 100%. Well, I'll be curious to see what Peele does next, and I'll be curious to see if they re-release this movie later in the year because I do feel like even so, it's going to have some awards potential, like at least in especially some of the technical categories. I think.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Sharronda, this has been fantastic. Getting you to come on here. You got to do this again. Come on here and talk
You
movies.
gotta invite me.
I know
Invite
it's as much my fault. I'm not blaming you at all. It's my fault. But I would definitely invite you again to come back on here to talk movies with me. Tell people where they can find you. Give everybody your socials and everything.
You can find me on social at Pay or Wait. You can catch the latest reviews of films and TV series, as well as celebrity interviews on my YouTube channel, Pay or Wait. We have a good time. We don't stay for a long time, but we have a good time. So I hope to see you guys there.
All right, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in to cinemoroyale.com. I'm Travis Hobson. You can find me every day at punchdrunkcritics.com. And you guys know where to find me here in DC and a whole bunch of different places. All right. Thanks again, everybody. Thanks again, Sharronda. I will see you all again soon. Bye. Thanks for checking out the show. If you like what we're laying down, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell to receive notifications for all of our latest stuff.